There's only one solution.
Smashing the like button.
Disbanding. Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
I was gonna say, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to disband the Democratic Party. Ooh. We must remove every name, image, and political group that has engaged in the atrocity of slavery.
That's right.
Starting with the Democratic Party.
They started. They're saying that they want to bring all the statues down because, the Confederate flag, because it reminds them of slavery. Well, you know what? On that note, why don't you go ahead and lead us in?
From ABC News, GOP member introduces resolution banning the Democratic Party.
Funny as this is.
Adam comes to me and he's like, "Did you hear the Republicans are trying to ban the Democratic Party?" And I was like, "What? Shut up."
What? New Babylon B, huh? Funny.
Exactly. Adam's like, "No, I mean it. There's like a couple guys that are trying to ban the Democratic Party."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?"
And I was like, "Oh, yeah."
But hold on. Adam, you explained it to me. Yeah. Because the Democrats were the party of slavery, Jim Crow, and the Klan. I went, "Oh, I agree."
Yep.
Ban them. Get rid. No, I'm kidding. It's funny. You get the point they're making.
Yep.
They literally drafted a resolution to ban the Democratic Party. Of course, it's not going to happen. But could you imagine what would happen if the Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, and the Supreme Court?
I bet the riots would stop.
Maybe. No, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, probably. But there was rioting under Obama. Like all of the Black Lives Matter stuff started under Obama.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and that's him. That's him and Joe Biden. That's the craziest thing about all these riots. Yep. It's like, Joe Biden, you were in office and this is going on. You're not going to solve the problem. You're going to make it worse.
Yes,
it's gotten worse and worse. So why should we think you're going to do it?
Yeah, everyone likes to say this is Biden. This is going to be Biden's America. No, Trump is in charge right now. This is Trump's America. And it's like, no. This started under Obama and Biden's administration.
And Trump is deploying federal law enforcement to stop it.
Yeah, he's making laws and executive orders that are reversing a lot of the things that they've done.
Well, let's read this real quick. All right, so from ABC they say, U.S. Rep. Louis Gohmert introduced a resolution to ban any political party that has been supportive of slavery, which he says includes the Democratic Party. The Texas Republican also calls for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to remove any items that symbolize or mention any political party that supported slavery or the Confederacy. As outlined in the resolution, a great portion of the history of the Democratic Party is filled with racism and hatred. Since people are demanding we rid ourselves of the entities, symbols, and reminders of the repugnant aspects of our past, then the time has come for Democrats to acknowledge their party's loathsome and bigoted past and consider changing their party name to something that isn't so blatantly and offensively tied to slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination, and the Klan, Gohmert said in a statement. He's right.
He is.
If they're saying ban the flag, the Confederate flag that's being banned is the battle flag. It's not even it's not even the actual flag of the Confederacy. It was the battle flag.
Ah.
Yeah. So if they're saying take that down, because the Confederates were losers, the statues have to go. Well, okay. The politicians who claim to be Democrats,
yeah.
Well, they're still elected officials, but the name should go, right?
I was reading an article about when the statues all went up, and it was after they lost.
Oh, way after.
Way after.
It was like what was like the Daughters of the Confederacy or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So a lot of it was to try to repair the ties from the South to the North. It was
right.
It was the Union.
Compromise.
Yeah, it was the Union saying, "Look, you lost. Here's put up some statues so you can at least have be proud of I'm not saying be proud of the slavery part." Because that's what everyone wants to jump to. They're like, right. Oh, well, that's what it's about. They miss having their slaves. And it's like, no, they don't. Like we talked about it. Most people didn't even want to be in this, the war. They thought that it wasn't even going to be a thing.
I don't think, you can trace back the tensions all the way back to the Civil War.
Yeah.
I mean, even before it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy. I was looking at some congressional seats and the history, and it's a weird thing that happened right around the time of the Civil War. It became a two-party system.
Yeah,
it was very much so based around slavery, with the Republican Party being like, no, it's time to end it.
Yep.
And the Democrats being like, how dare you? And throughout the past 100+ years, there's that animosity still existed. That split, that divide. For a long time, the Democrats were very, very, very racist.
Absolutely. They still are, bro.
Right. So what I was going to say is
Biden.
they claim the Great Switch happened, which is not true. It's way more complicated to say something like that, but that's not the case. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Democrats have never been more racist, in my opinion. When they come out and straight up say the things they've been saying, woke, the intersectionalism, it's hardcore white supremacy to claim that white people invented scheduling.
Yep.
Like
hard work.
Right.
Exactly.
It's to claim that white culture, like hard work is white culture, is insanely white supremacist.
Agreed.
So there's a comedy sketch going around from Ryan Long, and
hilarious.
It's amazing. He's got like millions of views by now. But it's two guys who are best friends, and one's woke and one's racist, and it turns out they agree on almost everything.
Everything.
Almost everything.
Well, at the very end.
Yeah, the very end, that white people are the root of all evil, he says. So the point is clear. Like, if the Democrats are embracing now intersectionalism, which is, in my opinion, like overtly white supremacist with guilty consciences.
Basically, yeah.
Then they've not changed at all. The only thing they're doing now is, instead of fighting against minorities, they're claiming to represent them. And then it's like, you got to hand it to a man. It's clever. If you want to sabotage somebody, let me tell you a story. How'd you guys like to hear a story?
I do. I want to hear a story.
Let me tell you a story of one of the cleverest murders I've ever heard about.
Oh, my.
So there was a story based in Illinois about a man who had gotten away with murder several times.
Okay.
And you know how he did it?
I don't.
He didn't go up to the people he hated and murder them, because people would have noticed either a fight broke out or he went missing. Oh, he was very smart. You see, what he would do is he would find a bar near a body of water. He would invite his rival for a drink where he was going to apologize. He would get the individual very, very drunk, and then they would walk out of the bar towards the body of water, and he would go right into the water. And then he would call for help. Help, please, help. And the guy, blackout drunk, falls in the water and drowns. And then once the people come, he's screaming for help, but he's the one who called for help. He certainly didn't do anything wrong. My friend and I got really drunk and he fell in. Oh no, I need help. And it was only after apparently some cop noticed that a bunch of these stories had popped up about a guy who was calling for help when his friends were drowning, and he put two and two together.
Yeah.
And was like, wait a minute. And it turns out he had fights with these people. So the reason I bring this up is, this dude learned a very clever way to get away with committing a crime, was to feign being friends with the person and then sabotage them.
I see what you're doing. You're talking about the Democrats right now.
That's right. They started pretending like they're the good guys.
Yep.
Listen to us. We'll do all the good things for you. And then did a bunch of bad things.
Yep.
And so Chicago, there's no better example than Chicago.
You're right. That's true.
Chicago has been under Democrat rule for, 80 years or something?
Long time, yeah.
And it has some of the worst segregation, some of the worst violent crime, gang activity. They've solved nothing. At the very least, we can say they are completely incapable of governing a city.
Yep.
Let alone anything else.
Yeah, they straight up took all low-income housing from the entire north side of the city and just bulldozed it all and just forced everyone to go fend for themselves on the south side of Chicago. And then what happened on the south side of Chicago? What did we just find out? Like a month ago?
Well, so the area I grew up in, I was looking at Google Maps, and I was trying to show, like, here's the area and here's like the project housing.
Yep.
And I noticed the very strange thing on Google Maps, there was nothing but fields.
Nothing
Fields
but
with
open
surrounded by fences,
Yep.
and signs saying private property, no entry. And then you can go back in time to earlier years, and I went back about 9 years, and all of a sudden all of the project houses were back.
Yep.
The city literally razed the entire project on the south side by my house.
Yep.
Just wiped it all out.
Yeah, and I've looked into like that kind of thing. It's like, so there was lots of gang violence in Chicago. There still is a lot of gang violence in Chicago, and a lot of the reason why it's getting worse, or it was getting a lot worse. I mean, now it's obvious reasons, but it's because they were pushing everyone together. Like, all the gangs from the north side got pushed down to the south side, and now they're getting rid of more housing projects. So people are getting more and more condensed on top of each other, fighting each other and killing each other.
I welcome Donald Trump sending the feds into Chicago.
Me too.
To be
Me
fair,
too. Absolutely.
I don't live there anymore for these reasons. But Trump said some FBI, DEA, ATF, like ATF especially, man, on the south side with the gun crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is what I was saying before. Like, we mentioned this the other day. If I went out and I saw, the CBP guys with the tactical gear, I'd be like, whoa, crazy. And it's happened before. I've seen that in Chicago where it's like a bunch of cops come out and like SWAT. And then we call friends like, whoa, what happened? Did you see the police? That's crazy. Mm-hmm. You want to get some nachos from 7-Eleven?
Yeah, right.
Like nobody cares because we're not going around smashing windows and starting fires. And when I was in Ferguson during the riots, when we were leaving, the National Guard was staging like a few blocks away. And we walked up and saw some National Guard and we were like, how's it going, everybody? And they're like, hey, what's up? And we're like, what's going on? And we just chatted for a little bit because they're people.
Yep.
And they were like, yeah, they're worried, if things really got out of hand, we'll be here trying to keep things calm. We just want people to be safe. And I'm like, I hear you. And we talked about the nuances of a riot and how people protest and how it escalates. And we basically agreed on a lot of things. They were cool dudes. I also talked to some cops and they were saying like basically the same things. Now I'll tell you what though, I saw cops do some BS in Ferguson.
Yeah.
Like walking up for no reason and chucking a flashbang at a group of people just doing literally nothing. And it sparked a riot. I've seen that kind of stuff happen.
Right. So, I mean, we've discussed it. Are there bad cops? Yeah. Yes, there are.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Are there bad people? Yeah. Are there racists in the world?
The real issue is that there are bad people, period.
Period. Thank you.
And the issue is when it comes to police should be held to a certain standard. What I mean by that is if they're the enforcers of the law, then we need to make sure we don't have, we need a set of standards so that we don't have bad people who gain that power. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And that's what we got to be very careful of.
That's true.
Because then they'll start bringing in their buddies. They'll start infecting, certain, like Chicago is so corrupt, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets bad. So anyway, we're supposed to be talking about banning the Democratic Party. But to bring it back to Chicago, we've got, there's so much corruption in Chicago. There was a video years ago of like a bunch of off-duty cops beating up a waitress.
Yeah.
There was a cop who grabbed a meter maid by the throat and slammed her up against the wall because she gave the cop a ticket for illegally parking.
It's messed up.
It's a dirty city, man.
It is.
And I feel bad for the cops, who
good cops.
Or the rookie cops who are like, I want to be a cop, man. I want to do the right thing. And then they get in and you've got, do you know the story of John Burge?
No, I don't know. It sounds familiar.
I'll just be very careful, but Google it. This dude was accused of electrocuting people into forced confessions.
Whoa.
Chicago is a dirty place.
Again, a democratic city.
For like a century.
For almost a century. Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's like, I think, I've talked about this before. My bias against the Democrats is probably somewhat part of this, where I grew up in a city where Republicans were not a factor. Where it was like the Republicans did things that I didn't affect me.
Yeah. They'd
talk about pro-life and, flat tax or whatever, and I'd be like, I don't know. And the war stuff, definitely, I was like, oh, these neocons, rrr. And then you have the Democrats in Chicago that just ran everything like it was a wasteland. It was like, it was just awful. And so I've been personally betrayed by these politicians. They've promised things. We've worked, I'm not going to get into specific details, but there were some certain instances where we were made promises by the city in exchange for fundraising and work, and then they just like basically figuratively knifed us in the back.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I hate this place. It's crooked. It's corrupt. The violence is out of hand. I'm done with this. So you know what, man? You reap what you sow. Louis Gohmert has proposed this bill, and I don't believe it specifically targets the Democratic Party. I believe it just targets the idea of racist parties.
Yeah, well,
that's them.
or the idea that they can just apply this blanket racist, statement on all these different things, like all the statues and all the whatever else they're claiming is racist nowadays. It doesn't work. There's a point where they're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, this is now coming back to bite us, and we should, cancel that.
Well, if the Republicans sweep the House and the Senate, the first thing they can do is say, in honor of intersectionalism, we think we should take down any symbol representing slavery.
And the first thing on that list is the Democratic Party.
Gone.
Boom. Yep.
You reap what you sow. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.